All right, what's going on, guys? Graham Jason Matthews here with FanSided Hidden Remote.com. And today we're talking the latest episode of Young Rock airing every Tuesday on NBC. Today we're talking season 2, episode 5, with the man who portrays Rocky Johnson himself, Joseph Lee Anderson. Joseph, what's going on, my man? How are you?
Good, brother. How you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for taking the time today. I've been digging the show since it started about a year ago. And I think your role specifically, I spoke to Stacy 2 weeks ago just to praise you guys and your roles on the show. You guys do such a great job. Talk a little bit about your journey from first starting on the show to now and how it's kind of progressed and how you've really kind of come into your own as Rocky Johnson.
Yeah, I feel like, season one, this is my first time being a series regular. So I was, very nervous,
Yeah.
very like wanting to make sure everything was right and not wanting to mess up was my biggest thing. And I think about halfway through season one, I was able to get rid of that. And I just locked in to Rocky and was able to give the performances that I was given. So yeah, it's been a fun process. It's been amazing playing him and working with Stacy and the rest of the cast, Uli, Bradley, Adrian, and Anna. They're all so amazing, talented. Like it's a dope show. It's been dope.
You mentioned how this is your first time as a series regular and how you kind of got the footing with it during season 1. Was there like any one episode or performance that you had where you really felt like you started to lock in as Rocky Johnson, or was it kind of a gradual process?
It was more of a gradual process because when we shoot so out of order, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, so one day we'll shoot half of episode 1, and then the next we're shooting episode 10. It's like, whoa, whoa. So yeah, it took about a month or 2 months for me to get really comfortable and into the swing of how things work. Because I didn't know how things work.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing how well, just watching the show as a fan and being a wrestling fan myself, obviously, how great you portray the role of Rocky Johnson. Like, it really is amazing, not just from an appearance standpoint, but like how you really come into the role, the way you kind of carry yourself and speak, and just everything else. It's so cool to see that on the show. How much research did you have to do this for this role going into it?
Um, at the beginning of season 1, we got to talk with Dwayne for about like
Yeah.
an hour, just talking to him, telling me how his dad was. Then I'd go back and watch different clips and things like that. But at the end of the day, as a comedy, I was always told that comedy wins, funny wins. So you got to be funny. And I try my best to be as funny as possible when the situation calls for it. Um, and I pull things from, different things from what The Rock told me about Rocky to, there's different things that my dad would do. I think it's funny that I'll have Rocky do, or my uncle,
Mhm.
things like that. So I kind of pull from everywhere to get the Rocky that I got.
And you mentioned you do such a great job with the funny, like the entertaining aspect of it as well. I think you're one of the more funnier characters on the show, which is cool. In addition to that, are there any other like key compliments or pieces of advice you've gotten during the filming of the show, whether it's from, one of your castmates or one of the directors, someone like that, that's really stuck with you in filming this show for this role?
Yeah, actually, The Rocky told me that one thing that really stood out was Rocky could make anyone feel like $1 million. He can make them feel like they could do anything, and
Mhm.
that's like a big thing that I put over, and it really that's why I'm so big. Like I try. It helps me make Rocky so big. Like I'm just this big, huge person with personality. Just that advice. So yeah, that would be the one.
And on this episode specifically, we kind of see Rock's journey into getting into wrestling on episode 5 and becoming a wrestler. And he talks about not developing a passion for pro wrestling. Obviously, he was already a fan of it with his family being in the business. Obviously, your character, Rocky Johnson, already having fame in wrestling, but kind of refinding that passion and, choosing that as his career path. For you yourself personally, can you relate to that at all as far as either growing up a fan, staying a fan, or becoming a fan for the first time of wrestling? And your kind of experience with the wrestling business itself and filming the show, like whether you were a fan previously and what your thoughts on that were kind of coming into the show.
Yeah, I was a big wrestling fan growing up. Got to The Rock, Stone Cold, Hard, all of that. That was my time. But just being able to do that wrestling side of the show, and that wrestling train, and Chavo Guerrero, he's our wrestling coordinator, and just all the learning how to do all those moves and actually wrestle has just been so dope. Like
That's my next question for you. I actually just saw Chavo like a week or so ago, like a convention thing,
yeah,
and he's awesome. And I know he's been working with you guys on the show, and as great as his on-screen accolades have been in his own career over the last couple of years, I think some of his greatest contributions in recent years, not only with this show, but that other show Glow that was on Netflix for the longest time
Yeah.
as well. He worked behind the scenes with those women as well. Talk a little bit about the wrestling training process and kind of what that is, because I've heard obviously so far we're seeing more in-ring action on this season of the show compared to the first. Talk a little bit about that and getting into the ring and how that process was for you, how that experience has been.
Yeah, it's so funny, right? Like season 1, it was very like hands-on, like very like, all right, here you got to learn this move, learn that move. And then season 2, it was a lot of time-sensitive things, like being pulled here, like I only got an hour to wrestle and train or 30 minutes to train. Like it was to the point where Chavo was just like, here, Joe, this is what you got to do. You got to do this, that, there. You good? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. We'd literally like get, like he would train, you know, the other wrestlers, like the newer cast members coming in, and they would rehearse the match and things like that. Then we'd get on set and ready to film. I'm like, all right, Chavo, what are we doing? He'd walk me through it. Then I'd walk through it. Then we'd be like, all right, let's get ready to shoot. it was more of that this season than, you know, actually like, you know, because he had taught me he had taught me all the moves.
Yeah.
Obviously, when there's new moves, he'll bring me in and we'll, you know, rehearse that and get it right. But for the most part, he's like, you know, oh man, you got it. You'll be fine. I'm like, all right, cool.
Then yeah, it's not much of a learning process when it comes to this season if he's already kind of taught you it from the first one, which is cool. How like is he just teaching you the basics, or like how in depth does he really go with that training? Like clotheslines, we're seeing like that sort of stuff on the show. How much of this like in-ring experience are you actually getting?
I mean, I feel like it's a lot. I mean, watching all the clips that I watched, you know, back in the day was a lot of basics. You know what I mean? They're not doing, especially Rocky, you know, he's not doing a lot of, you know, off the ropes, this and that.
Yeah.
He's very athletic, you know, like a lot of drop kicks, like which I'll do the drop kicks, you know, the shuffle, things like that. But for the most part, I feel like it's very basic, I think.
Did it give you the itch at all to become a pro wrestler yourself? As far as like, I feel like when you step in, sometimes people are like, not that you want to do this and pursue this as a career. You got a great thing going as an actor, obviously, but what your thoughts on, you know, did you feel like you were a natural in there, or was it a bit of a learning curve for you?
I definitely wasn't as good as I thought I was when I was, but they gave me a lot of respect for wrestlers now and past. Like that's no joke. Like it's tough stuff they're doing. So yeah, it gave me a new respect for the sport.
You mentioned growing up a fan of people like Rock, obviously Stone Cold. That's your time. I think at any point, if people kind of grow up watching wrestling, I'm one of those people as well. If you're a kid, you know, you want to at least try it out at some point. You've had that shot in this form, which is crazy to think about. But with people like Rock and Stone Cold, telling people, like whether it be friends or family or whoever, that you're portraying the Rock's father on a show like this, what kind of feedback are you getting from friends and family and stuff like that?
Oh, they just flip out. They just flip out.
Yeah.
Oh, the Rock's dad, you better not mess up. You better not. Yeah. It was funny, like, because at the beginning, you know, when I first got the role and like was able to tell people, they would try to put like all this kind of pressure, like, well, you know, he just passed away, so you better like, you know, you better get it right and this and that. And then I'm like, man, and I was so nervous. And then when I got to speak with Rock, like he was like, man, just, you know, just have fun. And like really just took all the nerves that I had away. They didn't put any pressure on me at all.
You would think that he would, in talking to him, you would feel more pressure, but it sounds like you had a lot less pressure after talking to like the man himself, which is crazy. And I've heard a lot of similar things from people on the show as well, saying that after they spoke with him, they kind of had a similar experience, that he's relieved a lot of that pressure and instilled a lot of confidence in you guys, which is cool. You mentioned right there, so you started filming the show as the role as Rocky Johnson. It was after he passed away, or was it like before then, or what was the timeline there?
Yeah, this was after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When
That
I
makes
got
sense.
the role, when everything went down, it was like, it was weird how everything happened kind of so fast, and then COVID hit and it stopped. So
Yeah. Yeah, and with that being a factor too, was there like, did it take time to kind of get back into the role of Rocky Johnson with COVID being a thing? You guys had some time off in between seasons. It's been about a year since the first season aired, and now we have season 2. Was it like a readjustment period for you getting back into that character and kind of not learning everything all over again? Because you mentioned the wrestling stuff kind of came naturally the second time around. Was that an adjustment period for you at all, or was it kind of right back into it like no time had passed?
yeah, for me, I was able to get right back into it. I think the hardest thing was probably maybe getting my physique to where I wanted it to be. I
Mhm.
didn't really quite get it there for last season, but due to like, COVID and time, things like that. But as far as, portraying Rocky and getting right back into the swing of things, it was easy for me.
What goes into that sort of thing as far as like getting your physique to what you want it to be and what you're eating and stuff like that? Like, what's the process there?
Well, it's tough. I know like first season, I had about 2 months of prep and two,
Wow.
3 months of prep, and Rock was just like, yo, just get big. And I gained I went from, what did I go from 225, 230 to 250.
Jeez.
Um, and like gained about 20 pounds of muscle. And now it's kind of, and it's weird because like we film and like we don't film in like order of things, you know
Mhm.
what I mean? So like when he was his most ripped was at Adrian's point, like young Dewey's part. And then when he got to Bradley's point, he was still big but not as shredded. And then when Uli happened, he was done with wrestling. And so it's
Yeah.
kind of hard, it's hard to find that middle ground to where I could keep it center, but just kind of a lot of eating, trying to just a lot of weights. And then when we start, I kind of like lean out as much as I can, probably like 2 weeks at a time.
Is this like one of the harder roles you've had to prepare for as far as stuff like that and kind of getting your body to where you want it to be? Or has this just come naturally for you?
No, this like I've always worked out, but never been like I haven't been this big before. It's like I was kind of always a bigger guy, but not this big.
How much like what's like the workout process and like what are you eating to gain 20 pounds in a couple of weeks? So that sort of stuff fascinates me.
Oh, that was just a lot of chicken and rice, a lot of chicken
Nice.
and rice, protein. That was it. That was so much chicken and rice, man. A lot. I don't have to do that again. Like I'm not gonna do that again.
Yeah.
Now I still have the muscle on me. So now it's smaller portions of chicken and rice, but yeah, real clean chicken, rice, tilapia, broccoli, boring stuff.
Did you already know to do that or did you have to get advice from someone in order to know what to eat and how quickly to gain all this muscle and stuff?
Yeah, I got a trainer for season one. His name is Tim Hamilton. He was my trainer for season one, so he put all that muscle on me.
Do you get any like guidance, maybe not from him himself, but like The Rock himself, I know like on Instagram, posts this sort of stuff all the time, like his cheat meals, the sort of stuff that he consumes just bewilders me. It's amazing. Like, do you look at that sort of thing and think to yourself, like, I could never do that? Or do you like like aspire to get to that point or your thoughts on how kind of following in him footsteps, that sort of thing?
Hey man, I be looking at that food too, and I want to eat it. That's my only problem. I love food. When I start, I can't stop. So I really I gotta start like right. Like I can't mess around when it comes to food. So, but it's definitely a motivator. It motivates me. Like I'll be, posting videos myself, and then when he comments, I'm like, oh, yes, do it, keep it going.
What kind of comments is he leaving on the videos?
Oh man, I just did one. Like I deadlifted 600 pounds finally, and he was like, "Oh man, that's strong, brother. Have a cheat meal." I was like, "Yeah, right, I'm having a cheat meal."
That's awesome. I mean, it is wild. I mean, again, going back to just Dwayne himself, the fact that he's got a million and one things going on, obviously having this show and a thousand other projects. The fact that he takes time, like out of like, it's pretty obvious when you look at his social media, he handles all of it. Like he's always doing his own thing. Is it crazy to you when you see a notification coming from Dwayne himself? Obviously, you're working with him on the show to an extent and you're portraying his father. So it's probably not wild to you. Has that really sunk in for you yet or not yet?
Nah, I still kind of like every time I see that notification, I'm like, "Oh God, no! What is it? What did I do? Did I do something wrong?"
Yeah,
Oh, it's good. Oh, okay, we're good. Everything's good.
that's
No,
cool. Have you gotten
it's
any?
crazy.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying, yeah, it's still wild. It's still crazy yeah. I'm not used to it yet.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And just seeing comments like that and leaving, feedback on your post. I mean, it's sweet. I mean, especially even just portraying his father in the show. I'm sure that never really gets old after a while, which is cool. Kind of going off of that. Have you had any other advice or any feedback from Dwayne himself, 2 seasons, and aside from what you've already mentioned, just any furthering on that relationship, I guess, through social media or through text or any more Zoom calls in addition to when you first signed on for the show?
I can't remember if I might have asked him something, but I think the most important thing that we're trying to get right is because Uli is stepping into the wrestling. So
Yeah.
I mean, I pretty much had my thing. Like I felt like I had it locked up to where I didn't need to ask him anything. But I feel like I wanted to let it be on The Rock, like, Uli, and let that story come up, because this is him becoming what he is, so.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We're starting to see that now with this latest episode in season 5, when he, like I said, chooses his career path, and we're really getting into it with you mentoring him on the show, which is cool. Kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier, and growing up watching people like Rock and Stone Cold, who were big in the time that you had watched wrestling. Do you catch into the current stuff now by any chance, or are you just kind of watching what you can just to prepare for this role in the show?
Yeah, I haven't watched any of the current stuff. I just keep it, whenever we get a match or I see a match in the script, I'll try to find the match on the
Oh,
actual
really?
internet, and then I'll
That's
watch
cool.
the match and, be like, oh, okay, this is what I got to do. This is what he did. This is how he did it. I'll try my best to mimic Rocky as much as possible. But
Wow.
I'm not as good of a dancer as he was last episode. And different things like, yes, those are the matches I watch. It's pretty much that.
That's awesome. And it's funny you mentioned that too, because the WWE, they have like this relationship now with NBC and Peacock. So all of the content is on Peacock, in addition to obviously the episodes of Young Rock. So it's all kind of in one place. So I'm sure all the matches that you have to watch or find, a majority are going to be there. So you got that corporate synergy there as well, which is pretty
Oh
cool.
man, it's amazing. Like, we do a match, like, hey, Chavo, can you send it to me? Yep, get it. I got it.
Yeah, no, he's an encyclopedia. Chavo will direct you exactly where you need to go and give you all the footage that you need. So it's great that you guys have a guy like him on the show to kind of direct you where you need to go and stuff like that. But going off of that, as we wind down here, man, just kind of overall thoughts as far as where we're going to the rest of the season. What more can we expect? Not just from season 2. I know you said you filmed out of order, so things might get jumbled around here a little bit. But episode 5 just aired as we're talking, or not as we're talking now, but Tuesday this coming week. What can we expect from your character going forward as we wind down?
Well, it's hard to say things without spoiling it. I will say,
Right.
I will say in episode 5, you'll get to see a lot of tension between Dwayne and Rocky, Uli, and myself, and I think that's something we haven't seen yet. And so we'll get a better look at that complicated relationship that Dwayne talked about that he has with his father, and maybe even, set up for more complications that we'll see.
Yep, a new layer, a new wrinkle to that relationship. So going to be fun to follow in the rest of the season. I look forward to it. You guys have done a great job so far. And you, Joseph, yourself have done a fantastic job as a wrestling fan. I can attest this, in portraying Rocky Johnson. So congrats on that. Keep up the awesome work, man. It has been a real pleasure and a treat talking today. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Thank you.